Let's see if we can do it, a third one. We'll give it a second, see if anybody's gonna come in and not, or if everybody's partying on Friday night. I guess we'll pop a message. Notification just went out. Are we online yet? Stream health. Yellow. Sure. All right, must have been getting. How's it looking? I'm seeing the stream showing 6. Damn, it takes time to get connected. 6 second. Sorry, I guess that's turned on. I guess. I need to go turn that back off. I've left whatever's default on there. Will. See, yours should be a mod. You should be able to skip all that stuff, right? What's up, Brett? So let's flip back over. Just don't need to buy a car. Yeah, I ain't peddling no cars. That is definitely not. I would be too honest with people. Let me get this. Well, if I can get this zoomed correctly. What's up, Tony? Messing up your lunch again today? Down under? So I know a couple of people know, like Lynn and Will, which Lynn we were working on this dimmer with. And they can see I left it broke on purpose. So it kind of dawned on me after yesterday's stream that we were trying to send all the various packets and trying to, what it was fighting us and nothing was working. It was still doing the red LED, even though, it's in the off position right now and it's on. The white LED is supposed to be lit up, but it's in what I was thinking was in an AP mode. What's up, Doc? And so it kind of dawned on me. I just had one of those epiphanies after I walked away and came back. And I said, geez, I bet you it's the heartbeat packet. So I was talking with Will actually after, and I tried to send, I'm scrolling back to find my exact packet in Discord so I can send it across so you can see what's going on. What's up, Lewis? And dimmer. Well, there it is. Gotta find the right scene. So in the console, what I did, put this a little bigger so you can see the red LED. So in the console, what I did was just send over that that heartbeat packet that it sends over, and I started looking at the serial communication for in real term, and the stock firmware sends over this little heartbeat packet from the ESP8266 over to the secondary microcontroller, and it sends it over every 10 seconds. So I found if I send over the heartbeat packet, you can see immediately the white LED goes on like it's supposed to. And it's going to operate just like it was in the stock firmware. And you can actually see in Tasmota, I have the extra debug turned on, so you can see it actually saw it as a heartbeat packet that came across. And the switch responds with some information. Basically, the secondary dimming microcontroller sends across, basically like an acknowledgement packet. But after 18 or 19 seconds, it will go back into this failure mode. So the previous models of the Tuya dimmers, which I've done the one with the 8 segment, the original model, they didn't care about the heartbeat packet from the ESP8266. So when we flashed over Tasmota to it, it didn't, that secondary microcontroller is like, well, whatever. You don't send me the heartbeat packet, I don't care. Just send me over the on and offs and send me the dimmer back and forth, and I'll send you the on and offs if somebody touches the front of the faceplate, so you can update the status. So it all worked out, except we come to this one, which is the rebranded. I'm sure there's someone else, one company makes it, but by Treatlife. It cares about the heartbeat packet. So I'll send it again, and you can see the white LED turns solid. Now if I turn it off, you should see kind of like a breathing effect with the white LED. And that's just like the stock firmware. So, but of course, after about 18 seconds, it fails. And it basically turns red. I think it's more of like an error thing that the secondary microcontroller thinks the ESP8266 died. And it's like, well, they just fell off the earth, and let's just start throwing red LED commands. Right, pulsing and flatline. So one way I thought about fixing it short term was to do, of course, with some rules. So what I was doing was I did a rule of rule 1 where it does on system boot. It sets up rule timer 1 for 10 seconds. And I'll turn that rule on. And I do have extra debug on, so it's going to send over a lot of information because I've got the extra debug stuff where it's sending across. So then on I did rule 2, and I'll explain this one real quick, is whenever that rules timer 1 expires, the 10 seconds counts down to 0, it's going to do a backlog, which, of course, if you're not familiar, the backlog is it just sends over, it starts a bulk of commands. So to do that serial send 5, which is a hex packet, it's going to send it over. And then it starts rule timer 1 again for 10 seconds. So then it just starts basically looping upon itself. And so I turn rule 2 on, and we'll restart this thing. And we should be able to see, once it restarts, and the countdown timer goes to 10 seconds, and you'll see it do rule 2 here in a second. There's rule 2, and it sends across that heartbeat packet. So that's a short-term fix for it. Yeah, you're basically about to send a bunch of commands. Yep. And so then it just sends across and every 10 seconds. Now, the only problem with that, let me go back to main menu, and we'll turn off that extra debug. So it's just on normal, which you're used to seeing in the console. The only problem with that is, of course, my OCD will kick in a little bit, is if every single result, and when it runs, it sends each, you can see the MQTT, it sends this across, it sends this across, it sends all these across every 10 seconds across MQTT. So it does create a lot of MQTT traffic. Technically every 10 seconds, that's not bad, I mean, considering. So, but I didn't want to do it that route. So I'll turn these off. So what I did was I started looking at the Tuya driver in the Tasmota firmware. And the fix was actually kind of simple. Let's see. Open, I'll bring it to the side here in a second. I have to resize it. And we'll turn this guy off. Resize this. And close the terminal. Small window problems, right? Yeah, secrets YAML. There's no YAML in here. This is all the Tasmota code. It is kind of graying it out a little bit. I think because of the code is not seeing it as being, it's in a define, and so that's why it looks kind of grayed out a little bit due to the define. So I started looking at, this is the Tuya driver, and this only gets kicked in when you pick that Tuya module. And down here this is maybe not the perfect way to do this, but what I did was in the very top where they set up all the variables, I set up a Tuya heartbeat timer equals 0. So we're gonna do our own 10-second heartbeat timer inside the actual Tuya driver. Yeah, basically this is part 3, Tim. Got to do the closure, man. I was gonna chill out, been a long day, take off, you know, but we got to do the closure. Got to finally close. We put it to pasture, right? So I found in Tuya init where the thing gets right here. I reset Tuya heartbeat timer to 0 in case you did initialize it. His minions needed his brain. 12 streams of April. Was never planning to do 3 nights in a row, but hey, why not, right? We'll just give it a shot. So this gets called for the various functions in Tasmota. So there's a function called every second that was checking the Wi-Fi state of the Tuya dimmer. So I added this piece here, and this is it. And that's kind of like the fix, basically the fix of it. And which we'll compile it and we'll flash it to this one here in a second. Yeah, definitely, Doc. Now I just got to fine tune all my stuff, you know, to make it smooth and cool graphics. And I can't use your squirrel thing. I have to use some sort of the shiny object syndrome thing. So, but this is the fix here. Was every second this case runs, we increment the heartbeat timer by 1. And then I just said, I didn't want to do an equal. I just said in case it runs past it for some reason doesn't run. Once it runs past 10, the Tuya heartbeat timer is reset. And then I used the function up top, which was already there, Tuya send command, and they already had it defined with a Tuya command heartbeat. And so every 10 seconds, it's going to sit there and send, well, I guess you say 11 seconds probably. It'll send that heartbeat. But as long as we're under that 18 seconds, we should be okay. So, um, so we're going to give this a, I'm not used to my window being this small. Run build task, and we'll do just a regular build. And this is compiling up all the Tasmota. All right. And we will flip back to the dimmer. And typically what I'll do normally just but why not? Normally a lot of my builds, I'll flash them to a Node MCU first before I do, let's see, we're in the mod 10 folder and Sonoff firmware bin. And then we'll start upgrade. Yes, that's the main thing, because the Node MCU is too easy to blow it away and just plug it in and nuke it. So crazy. But see, Jim, it can't be a crayfish, because that's not what we call them. We call them a crawfish. So now we check I need to go put that debugging back on so you can see it. Configure other, nope, not configure other. It's in a configure logging. Web, more debug, save. Main menu, we'll go back to the console. And these ones with the TYA are not sent over MQTT. So now that Tuya driver internally is every 10 seconds or 11 seconds, I think it probably is. Yeah, it looks like 11 seconds, which is fine. That's going to send over that heartbeat package. So now, let me turn the camera back on. So now you should be able to, you can see, let's see if we can get closer to the dimmer. And that's the typical normal setup when it does the type of breathing LED. So it does have some kind of cool animations here. I know we were playing with it earlier. Like you can see on the other streams, it kind of like counts up and then it counts back down. And then the dot means it's staying. And of course there's touch there, but the dot means that's where the brightness was at. So it should keep that third dot lit once you turn it off. So, no, Dale, you didn't miss much. We just showed the whole fix. So you can always rewind though. So, yeah, so that's, how'd you know it was getting called? So I didn't write the original. It's a little backstory. When I first did the original dimmer, this version of this dimmer, I always kind of refer to it as the OG dimmer. Hold on that question, Dale. I did that original pull request. Well, I had to modify several pieces of Tasmota, and like the light driver and the main core driver of Tasmota, because it wasn't designed to do serial and then take stuff back in. It wasn't because you touch stuff with the faceplate, plus you can control stuff from software wise. So that's kind of the two-way communication. And so once I put that pull request in, well, then Theo took not long after, and he kind of rewrote things and extracted it out to a driver like it should have been. That was kind of beyond me with his way of doing drivers and everything. And then Chaos Master, and I think maybe possibly one other person, I'd have to look back in the commits on the Tasmota project, but he took and added some different functionality to it in and the driver, like making it auto detect the dimmer ID. And so typically on the drivers, when I'm looking at this one, and all the stuff that he wrote in here, if you, some of the, it's kind of laid out typical, there's actually an API of Tasmota wiki, and what else? I think it was function init, I think it was. Yeah, sensor API. So this is the sensor API when you're writing their own driver. It's in the wiki. And they had there's a table. You can see the function init, function every 50 millisecond, function every second. This callback ID is called every second. Pretty self-explanatory. Of course, I didn't read all this until reading it just now. Yeah, so typically, you know, like you want to set the value. Let's see. So I knew it was setting it in there. I mean, it was every second. And went through and took a guess at it and did the every 10-second deal and watched it on the console, and that was a wrap. It was pretty well simple to do, but we just took a while getting there, of course, because we didn't have the original firmware, and then we had to do the sniffing of it and find all the packets and everything like that. So, yeah. So I couldn't program all that stuff up from the beginning, but I can, of course, hack into it, right, and add some different pieces. So, and that's a wrap on that. And I did take this code, and because I have one of the original dimmers installed actually across the room from me on a light, and I have that 8-segment one also in the kitchen over the sink. All right, Lewis, take it easy. And I did those. I wrote the same code where it was doing the heartbeat packet every 10 seconds, and it doesn't impact those. But the original firmware on those as well were doing the heartbeat packets. So. Yeah, Adam, it possibly might. And just because of the way this one is laid out, it uses, and I'm glad you brought that up. And this is probably my, I guess you'd say my second favorite one. I have seen the problem with one LED driver, and actually it's going to that's the dimmer we're talking about, that Treatlife one I just linked. Because they use a secondary microcontroller that probably should have a hardware PWM, which is, I'm sure, why they chose to do the two microcontrollers, because the ESP8266 for doing LED is, unless you're doing like some WS2812s or 2011s, it's just PWM on the ESP8266 is all software. And what you might be seeing, and you're seeing that flickers, that flicker all the time, as you like to say, just for a few minutes, or because the ESP8266 has issues where if it gets a lot of Wi-Fi traffic, then in a sense, it forgets to do the pulse width modulation, which it does for dimming. And that's the way that Martin Jerry dimmer works, or the Tesson one. And yeah, Desert Garden, yeah, those dimmers, I would just, they hang around. I mean, they seem to go on sale every 2 weeks or so, it seems like. Yeah, all that for 4 lines of code, but I think it was kind of cool to fix it with 4 lines of code. All the time after the first few minutes. I wonder if it's like heating up. Oh yeah, and Dale, I'm glad you brought that up. So the ground question, but this dimmer, you can try it because the ESP8266 is really just a dumb pipe. It's not doing a dimming. It's not doing the. It doesn't actually do the buttons. So the press here is not done by the ESP8266 does not do this. So we could actually remove the ESP8266 or just blank out the firmware. Now we would have the issue with the red light, but the switch still functions. It would still, the LEDs, that animation on the front would still work. And so it's the ESP8266 becomes just a Wi-Fi radio basically. So I would like the manufacturers to come out with, like if the Martin Jerry, or they're really good because I like them because the ESP8266 does a lot of the control. So you can do like the long press up, long press down. You can do long press power to do actions, all your little favorites. Like I showed the downlight video. So you can do rules and all the different buttons and everything because you have control over it. This one you don't. So you can't do any long press. The long press is actually going to set it back into Wi-Fi manager mode. But back to the ground question, it doesn't require ground. Most of these switches, of course, it does require a neutral. Like this is from the one we took apart. The ground wire on the outside is just, it passes through. And that's how a lot of these switches are that I've taken apart. I want to say even the Martin Jerry ones are like this. Is basically this green ground will just pass right on through the switch and goes to a plate on the back of the screw. And you can see it, right? That's the same bracket right here. It's just flipped around. And so that's just, if you want, Ellis wanting to do is to ground to a metal box. And also I would recommend if you put a metal faceplate on a switch is to also ground the faceplate of it. Yeah, so, and the reason why you want to do that especially on a metal faceplate, is if for some reason a wire, like a hot, comes loose inside the box while you're at work, while you're sleeping, you don't know, that hot could hit and then lay against the metal faceplate. And if you don't have it grounded, then it's just waiting for the next person to come by and touch it. Yeah. Now, luckily, the metal faceplates aren't too bad with it because most of the manufacturers seem to be putting the ESP8266 antennas right behind the button in the front of the faceplate. So yeah, if you put in metal faceplates, I would highly recommend you ground the faceplate, which is what this would do if you hooked up to ground. But the ground's not actually used by the dimmer itself. So I feel like we didn't go too crazy, Jim. We didn't go. I didn't like start dig. I can tell you the code in Tasmota is absolutely nuts. So, I've added motion and temperature and humidity to my T1s now. I think I can get them to run Lux though. You could, Doc. You could. Do you have two GPIOs, RX and TX maybe? Or are you using those? You could do I2C on. There's several I2C Lux sensors. Oh, you're using them. Huh. Okay. Yep. I get that. You'd have to start soldering, and it's much easier to do some other solutions to come up. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I2C will work. Yeah, I2C is going to take, the ground. ground 3.3 volts, and then SDA and SCL. I think that's data and clock, I believe. Um, let's see. I have. There's a couple. Oop, turn the switch off. I would use voice commands, but I'll be nice to y'all. I should have another. There. Yeah. Here's one. There's one lux sensor. That's a little bigger one. They have there's several of them. This one's. I want to say this was the. I have to go back and look, like something 1650 or something like that. But it has the ground. Well, if I focus it right. Yeah, it has. Just needs SDA, clock, VCC, and ground. And I've actually used I2C on the iFan 02. I only had RX and TX, and attached that MCP 23017 to expand the GPIOs. But of course, you would not be able to use your temperature and humidity behind an MCP expansion board. I was just actually talking about your video on Facebook today. Someone was asking, they had a picture of two light switches and looked like the receptacle style, and then they had a single switch, and it was two gang, and they were trying to do three switches in the two gang, and there really isn't anything except for doing really what you did. Doc, is take the faceplate off and put it behind, and I think you turned it sideways, I believe. So it's about the only way you can really do it. Let's see. So we won't make. It's a tight with two gang. Anyone else order the Wi-Fi doorbell? Keep standard door. It fits great. Yeah, I bet you it does fit good in the three gang. So I did play. I was playing around the other day with a. Let's see. It was this guy. Playing around with this guy here, I call it the UFO, but you'll know exactly what it is whenever I open it. And what's up, Shane? So I was playing around with this guy of course I went and played around with it on Tasmota first, because went from just did Tuya convert with it, and you can actually see well, let's move the dimmer. We'd kind of done with the dimmer, right? I won't bore y'all trying to put the other one back together. We took that one, totally stripped it down in 500 pieces, it seems like. And I'll just fix the focus on this thing. So this is that little ZemiSmart infrared receiver, and it's just powered through USB, and there's a button on top, and it's kind of hard to see on here, but they're all these infrared. I didn't bend them that way. All the little infrared bulbs are all like kind of different positions, and it's actually sandwiched in this top. And it actually comes out the side. It's hard to see being as this close, but it comes out the side through this translucent cover. And I guess you could, if you had to, you could take this plastic off and solder to it. And then there's an infrared receiver right here that works on one direction. And as far as I was able to play around with it in Tasmota and capture some infrared, but mine kept saying unknown type. And I got it to work with only with a couple devices, but a lot of my devices were saying unknown. And so I flipped it over and I've been playing with it in ESP Home. So I don't know if anybody has started messing with ESP Home on infrared stuff yet. I saw he's got a lot of data on it, and then I've got it capturing all the raw data, which is pretty cool. So see if I can show. Let's see if we can pull up ESP Home. Let's see. And we'll turn this off. My goal was I have one of the little was the broad links, and I had that in my bedroom, but I wanted to play around with it. I wanted one for my living room, and this was I wanted something. I've always wanted something open firmware. Of course, the broad links aren't, and I know they have their app and the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if it whole relies on the cloud. I know Doc did a video on the broad links before, which I do have one, but I wanted something totally that was, of course, all open source, local control. What's up, Lynn? So I showed the hardware, the actual the proper fix at the very beginning of the video, Lynn. And for everybody that Lynn was, he had bought some of the Treatlife dimmers and had the same issue, and then I also had the same issue, and then so we kind of talked back and forth, and Lynn was nice enough to send me one that we could play with, and I decided, hey, this would be a good subject. We can tear it down and do some serial debugging and hopefully come to a fix, which I was disappointed we didn't last night, but I was able to do it, and we showed it tonight. So I played around with and it's not going to show the code right because of the size of the window, but let's just change it. And we'll zoom Chrome in, and hopefully it should do us right. Yeah, we'll be fine. Yeah, that's kind of that's my deal too. Don't get to watch too much TV. So the only stuff I played with was I got this out of the docs, which was doing the remote receiver. It was pin 5, and then the transmitters on pin 14. And so we found out the GPIO pins for the button, and there's also a light. Now there's just a green light. I'm not going to use that. And I was able to get to dump some of the commands. I want to say it just shows in the logs. Let's see if I can do a remote to it. If there's too much light to it or not. You can see I just putting a remote to it dumps all the raw commands to it. So I was trying to see. I'm just hitting the back. I'm hitting the back button on a Roku remote, and another volume on the TV. It's not going to auto scroll because I have it too big. So I was hoping to take. I think you can assign those to switches in ESP Home, from what I was reading, and I want to see do this in ESP Home. It's just one of those challenges, really. And I wanted something that was Wi-Fi and open source, and I could play around with and do. Yeah, because I think the broad links are much cheaper than these were. So Yeah, I didn't get a chance to play with the stock firmware on here. I should have, I guess. But of course, I didn't really care. That was all in the cloud. So, what else what else? Any crazy problems? Or I know we've been only been 40 minutes, and I was probably planning on doing like an hour on here. So what's the 29.99, Will? I was trying to catch back up. Let's see. Oh, that was the. You gotta pace yourself. Yeah. See, I gotta get to that, right? Just doom, doom, doom. Just want to just go, 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 go. We got a bunch. I'm just thinking what else I had hanging around here and other projects. One. This is more kind of probably on Doc's thing. I didn't think I would ever get excited about buying me a set of measuring calipers. I started talking with oh, I went blank. Was it Paul? I think it was. And he's been before I can get into the 3D printer stuff. So he recommended these here, and they weren't bad. They were like $30, $40 or something like that. And I played around with them just when I first I got them. Only had got to play around with them out for a little bit, and they seemed pretty cool for the price. I want to say they were like 30, $40 or something like that. See if I can find ones. They were. I don't remember exactly where they were. Let's say I got them off of. I got them off Amazon, I'm sure, and I'll just not see them. Yeah, here it is. They were eye gauging. I'll link them in here for documenting later people watching. Yeah, these seem pretty decent for without probably more than I would need, but so hope I'll be hitting up Paul, and he can teach me some playing around on the 3D printer a little more. That's what I've got to learn some was it Fusion 360 stuff. So I want to start. I've got a couple cases I want to make, and yeah, that's definitely not bad, especially in Canadian, right? No batteries in that one. That was my thing. I remember people kept saying in several different ones, like, if it eat batteries, and I asked, like, hey, does this one eat batteries? And I think they even sent an extra battery with it. Yeah, so they even sent extra battery, and then I wanted to see a standard battery, is what I wanted to see. And I actually happened to have a whole box full of 2032s. So, and I said, well, I've got plenty of batteries for this thing. I just leave it on. So I didn't ever thought that I would be excited about getting me some calipers. I got chat banned. No, Doc, you can't be chat banned. Let's see. There you go. Hopefully it won't ban you again, right? You can ban Will. So what if you got to charge them up? Like they get they die. You have to open them and close them real fast. And everything they'll charge back up. It should just have them solar powered, like the old solar powered calculators. I mean, you never had to put batteries in those things. So, so what's won't see in? I don't see anything in there, sir. Good enough. It just says error probably. And I had that issue with the first night we were doing things. It was just saying error when I was trying to send things, and that was why I made Will one of the moderator because everybody was kind of sending different links back and forth, and I kept having to approve them while I was soldering, and it was just got to go back and forth. So, but makes it a little easier trying to approve links and everything, and when you got someone doing things. Has anybody got? We got like another 15 minutes. I'm looking at here. Trying to. It was it too? Probably not enough text. I didn't see Doc's ban. We'll talk about it later. So y'all want to laugh? Y'all want to laugh at me? Y'all want a good laugh? Maybe then before y'all come up with something. I don't know if I can find it offhand. Let's see. I know how I can find it. Give me 1 second. Someone sent me a picture and they played a good joke on me at work. And they happened to see it. And it was my doppelganger. And it looks like he lives about like 3 hours from me. And let's see. I'll bring this up here. We'll make this large. So it's just a good laugh. There's nothing to do tech at all. Let's see. Hang on to that thought, Sinister. We're goofing off. So they got me at work, and my family actually got me with this for like 2 weeks before. I don't know why this picture got circulated around, but my wife accidentally thought it was me. And so of course, I think the pick on this guy was his hair. They're like, damn, did he draw in his hair? I think I thought it was on Reddit or something. And my wife like, oh, that's you. And she's like, who did that? That's one of your friends. Your friends, photoshopped that or something. Now, I'm sure someone else is going to take and Photoshop it and probably do something like Doc's picture. But so it happened at work. They happened to see it, and they're like, oh, that's Travis. And so they actually hung a picture up, and I see if I can pull it up here. No, it's not me. This is a real website. It's caddosheriff.org. It's a real website for Caddo Parish. It's in the north. In Louisiana, we don't have counties, we have parishes. But it's in the very northwest part of the state, and this guy's actually been there for like 15, 16 years. So it's Christopher Woods, and he actually got promoted to sergeant. So of course around work they're calling me sergeant all the time, and did you have a good night patrolling? And so they've been running with it all week. So I thought it was kind of funny. So did you learn? So of course my mom was like, I didn't do anything crazy in that area. Maybe your dad did. So yeah, I just got a haircut the other day, and it definitely, I've got a little more hair. I'm not, I'm trying to get to be like Doc, but so I just shave it all off, right? So yeah, thanks, Dale. So missed a question. Oh, the one about MQTT and ESP Home. So, um, yeah, that's a question I've had several times. I'm sure I'm gonna have to go there eventually, Doc, and we'll get there one day. Yeah, I can't leave MQTT either. Um, I like ESP Home is great for some things. Let's see. It's great. I run it on a couple light bulbs, some warm white and cool white. Another bulb. I'm playing with it on a down light, and I've run the sensor node still. And it's hands down awesome for doing ESP32. But you'll notice in that infrared one, I don't use the API. I use MQTT. So, um, but I do run a little different setup. I don't run hash.io. I run just, what you showed the other night. We were upgrading the Docker container. I run just straight Docker container on Unraid, and I run MQTT in a separate Docker container. And actually, eventually, I do have it installed, but I need to convert stuff over. I actually will run MQTT on just a separate Raspberry Pi, probably with just where I run Pi-hole at. I'll have just Pi-hole and then MQTT. It just run by itself. And because MQTT is more, in my setup, has grown to become the center of the hub per se. And I can't remember the last time MQTT crashed on me. Now, unfortunately, I can't say that about the container. It doesn't crash too often. I've just had a couple times where I'm like, wait, okay, that's down. And I just go start the container back up. And it was, the Home Assistant had died on me. And I do a lot of long press, short press actions from different switches, and that all goes across MQTT. I could use WebSend for it, not use MQTT. But then also I use a lot of Node-RED for my automations. So, and it's just the OCD in me, I guess. I want that automation just to go, instead of having to go through Home Assistant, I just want it to go straight there. So, Lynn, I would try, there is in the Tasmota wiki, look under commands, under set option list. Geez, it's so much nicer now that Blackadder has done this. There's a couple options you may want to play with in, I know I want to say it was set option 20. Yeah. Now, it may not have an impact because of the microcontroller that handles all that. So you can try to mess with set option 20. It may not do anything. And there's also set option, but I think that has to deal with the faceplate, where it applies the set option to the device. Where I had on one of the dimmers, and Chaos Master added this one, where when you were touching the faceplate, it wasn't actually turning on, and we had to use set option 54. So you can kind of play with the 20 and 54s and see where those are at. It may not do anything because it all depends on the code in that microcontroller. So, and I'm a toot Blackadder's horn here, even though I know he's not here. Have y'all looked at this lately? 134 this guy has of templates. That's insane. You see the Garden Power State? Yeah, he was actually going through and pulling. I talked with him, and he was actually going, he was going through the Tasmota wiki where people had submitted Power Stake. Or is this, let's just do Costco. Yeah, dudes, I know a lot of people have been submitting it to him, And it really made it much easier, especially once they had that command, the template 255, which I asked Theo to do, and where it would copy all that to that template for you, and that way you could just copy and paste it straight into the submission form for him. So um, I'm not seeing the garden steak. Did I pass it? I know I'm kind of ADDing right now, so I hadn't drank enough beer yet. Been a crazy day. I know I'm delayed probably with y'all. He has too many devices. There it is. CE garden powers. I should have searched garden. So if you don't know what you're like, what is this template for the first time thing? If you flash to the latest Tasmota 6.5.0, which by the way is on Core 2.30. So I know that scared a lot of people off where they had a lot of Wi-Fi issues on 6.4. They went back to Core 2.30. And a real quick primer, easy way to explain it, think of the core as the operating system, much like Windows 7 and Windows 10, and Tasmota runs as an app on top of it. So there was nothing really wrong with the code of Tasmota in 6.4 if you had, say, Wi-Fi or MQTT disconnect issues. It actually had to do with the drivers underneath. And changing the core usually fixed that for a lot of people. So if Tasmota scared you away previously in the past and you had something you want to do in just Tasmota and you don't want to mess with an ESP home, go to 6.5. And the cool part of it is, I can't really show it on this dimmer here. We can't put one in. But if you look in the configuration, basically, like say this garden steak. If you're like, hey, I got this garden steak, you did Tuya convert on it, you've got the straight template, and you don't want to go through and figure out all the GPIO pins. All you do is you take this one line and you copy it off of the page. You go into Tasmota and do configure other, and you paste it over this and hit activate and save, and that's it. And it'll reboot and it'll configure all the GPIO pins for you. And then of course you'll have to do your MQTT or whatever else little other options you want. So but oh yeah, there you go, Will. Thanks for sending the link. So it's kind of nuts. I'll just go through here and look at some of the it's almost like a shopping list. More of you can just go through and find all these plugs. So let's see. I should have that Node MCU from earlier, from yesterday. Yeah, so yeah, I know actually some people were doing that. They were like, "Oh, wait, I saw they had the template up there already." And what's huge is if someone has already figured out all the pins for you on I'm trying to plug it in Node MCU right now while I'm talking, is they figure all the pins out for you with power monitoring. Because power monitoring, if you're just trying to do, you can, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out how to guess on all the different pins with, like switches and relays and buttons and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm just catching up with you guys. So we'll do one right quick. Let me see if this came up on my controller right quick. Let's see. No, I think because I was nuking it. I'm gonna flash it right quick while you guys are chit-chatting. I'll bring it over here so you can see what I'm doing here. Take this out the way. Did you miss? And I'm break on variables the way it just echo a variable. 1 second. Oh, it didn't come on for some reason. That's why. It's not liking this plug. Well, it does not like that USB. We used it yesterday. We'll just grab another Remos or something. Trying to show this to you right quick without messing up a switch. I know what I can do. One second here. I have a Sonoff S20 I can play with. We can flash it. Give it a second to come up. I'll catch up on the chat here. So what's your question, Jason, with the rules? So I did it with the rules at the beginning, and then I ended up not going that route. I wanted to do it in code. Oh, cool. So it worked out. It set option 20 and set option 54. Okay. Yeah, so I did put it the rules. The reason why I labeled it that, the rules led me to test the fix, but then of course I kind of got OCD with the amount of MQTT traffic, and I want to do it in the code, and so we wouldn't do any rules, and it should be in there for the Tuya, all the Tuya dimmers either. Now you can present a dimmer value and turn on demand to that value. We'll mess with that here. I'll plug it back in and we'll do that and see what happens. I'm trying to see 1010. Let's see. 10.10 at 186. So this is just at S20, and it does have, we'll do a firmware upgrade of it. Let's see. All right, we're gonna upgrade it right quick to 6.5. I haven't used that one in a bit. Yeah, that's these stakes here. You can kind of see it. I think I remember someone was posting them, and they were like using for Christmas lights, and they got them from Costco, and like they were even on sale for like super cheap. Look, they're on Amazon, but oh, that's not too bad. So they're just a big stake. Well, I think there's 3 plugs on one side and 3 plugs on the other side. Yeah, you can kind of see what they're doing with it and sticking it in the ground. So, there it is. Yeah, Dale, they were. I remember someone posting a picture on Facebook or something. They were like $5-6, and they had like a whole pallet of them things they were trying to get rid of. during Christmas. I think it was right after Christmas or something. So there was some sort of warning or something I saw on one of them, or maybe I don't know if it was that steak. It was saying like don't leave it out more than 90 days or something. It was weird. Back to the template thing is I'll show you real quick how to throw one in here. Let's just take that steak. So like that, say if we had that power state, all you do, like you'll do your Tuya convert on it, get Tasmota up, on your Wi-Fi, and I would go ahead and put like your MQTT broker information in, and then come in here, instead of having to go configure module, because that one's not in there, you'll just do configure other, and copy over this, hit activate, and that's it. Hit save, and it automatically sets all the GPIO pins. And that's it. It'll be configured, and like say if it had power monitoring, it'll have everything in there. There was a power monitoring plug that I bought. They were on Lightning. There was a Lightning deal, and let's see if I can get it. We'll power that one up. I want to say it was this one. They were SP201. Yeah, it was this one. Of course, they were a different brand, but man, it was super nice not having to. Let's see if I can take this one out. I should have it. I have one actually already on. Let's see. Too many windows open. Need to find the IP address. 1 second. Yeah, they're not bad on the, let's see, they're 30 as of now. I got this brand, Salento or something like that. I can't say it. I can never pronounce any of these brands that they just make up. Yeah, it's oh, so it's the dual outlet. Okay. I want to say I got them, I was like around $10 a piece or something like that, maybe, or a little more, $12 a piece. It wasn't too bad. They're dual relay. They have dual buttons, but the power monitoring, just what I figured, the power monitoring is just going to be for the device as a whole. Let's see. I'm trying to see where I have that thing at so we can go find. Let me take a look at it. 193. Yeah, so that well, if I can find, that made it real simple to throw that in, and it was right there and done. And it does come with it. I think that they had it set up with more than 2 relays, because I think the default, that's whoever submitted that template, they configured. And I changed it. You can just go in and change the template. And see, someone else, they based this off the Blitzwolf, and they changed all the GPIO pins. But there was relay, there was an LED, they had an LED 2 in there, I believe. they had both. I'm trying to remember what it was. They had LED 1 and LED 2, but they had them set as relays, so you could control like the red and the blue lights, I believe. Or maybe that was another one, but this one I changed it, and because I didn't like, I think it was just this one was just 3 LED. You could turn the blue LED on and off with a third relay, but I changed it to actually just be the regular LED to follow. So yeah, so but it's awesome to be able to throw that in, and it configures the module for you. And this one they locked all the pins out so you don't change anything, but of course you could just change it in template, and has all the power monitoring stuff for you. They're pretty close, Dale. I haven't compared it to the S31, and I've got 3 or 4 of the S31s around, and yes, the dual LEDs have power monitoring for both. They're not separate. That's correct. I think the only one that's going to be split like that would be the Shelly 2.5. I believe that one is supposed to be dual power monitoring, which I would assume they would need to do a pull request and some modifications, probably some decent modifications to have 2 sets of values in Tasmota for voltage and power. You shouldn't need voltage, but just the power current and stuff. But I know the S31s are pretty accurate, and they use a little different chip. It's like a CSE 7766 chip or something like that. And these are using that HLW chip, if I'm thinking right, or is it not BLT, maybe it's BLT, BL0937. This is the chip that Sonoff used to use, and it may not be just as accurate, but I mean, for mainly what we're wanting to do with it, they may be 1-2% off or something like that, possibly. If you're wanting to see, power monitoring and just, say how is your 3D printer done, how much electricity did it use while it was printing, hooking up to a washing machine, something like that. But, do make sure and check the amperage. The SP201, they were 15 amps for the whole thing. So, but for my rule, I try to run like half of that or something to give you some room. Yeah, this one right here, you can see. Let me set the other one. Yeah, it's got 2 buttons on it, and another button over here, and then just 2 plugs with one plug on the back. You'd probably have to, if you wanted to open this thing, you'd probably have to pretty well destroy the thing, because I bet you they've put a lot of glue around the sides. So, but that's kind of why I like those the S31s. You do have to solder to them downside, but if you do brick it, playing with it with ESP Home or going back and forth Tasmota ESP Home or making changes, you can't beat the Sonoff S31. You could just pop the screws and flash it again, right? Yeah, I've taken apart another one of these plugs. We could tell or something like that. It was another dual relay, but it only had 1 button. I was like, why are you gonna do a thing with 1 button? And I think the stock firmware should have 1. Yeah, this guy here. This was another. It even said it was power monitoring. I didn't want to say, one of them I had said it was power monitoring. Yeah, it even says on the box, energy monitoring. Trust me, it's definitely not an energy monitoring. You can take this one apart though. It has a little tri-wing screwdriver. I just use a little flat flat screwdriver, and you can see where I was prying it apart, and you can pry it apart and get to it and see the insides. Now it'd be difficult to flash because the pins would be on the bottom, but then this part is glued, and you'd have to kind of rip it out of the plastic to get really to flash it without Tuya Convert. And then the downside of this one was there's only one button. So, yeah, you could do a short press for, like, say, the left one, then say a long press to turn the right one. But there's no energy monitoring on it. It was just literally impossible. There wasn't even a chip that was energy monitoring, because I was like trying to figure out what it was, but no, there's no energy monitoring on it at all. The box says there is. Please share. Tekken SP20 still on sale, 17 for a 2-pack. Yeah, the box says, I think I got that one from Banggood, I believe. They sent that to me, so. Yeah, I've got I haven't put this anywhere. That was an impulse buy off of seeing on Amazon. Y'all made me buy something. Yeah, like I'm banging on the desk now. So back to before we go, play with I want to see the dimmer. So you went and did a no, we're not changing the template on it. We're not going to mess it up. Turn that light back off so y'all can see the LED. So you went and Lynn, I don't know if Lynn's still here. You did set option 20 and set option 54, right? Set option 20 and 1. Set option 54 and 1. So let's just see, it still works. Ah, okay. Very cool. So let me see if I can get this on here without shocking myself, right? You can change, if you do touch it, it doesn't automatically turn on, but you can see it's in the background, because I still have that debugging on. It's going to change the value of the dimmer. I don't have this associated with Home Assistant or anything, so you won't be able to see the slider. And the slider doesn't automatically refresh on the GUI in Tasmota, by the way, like the on-off does. So you can turn it on. So let's see if we can get this to show, we can still see it. So if we did dimmer 50, and that is upside down, guys. So dimmer 100. Oh, that's cool. So you can apply, it does work well. Dimmer 80. And you can actually see that do the animation, that light hold. So yeah, I actually did shock myself the other day. It was another switch I was messing with and didn't have the jumpers on it. And I'm so used to messing with the switches that all have the jumpers. And this one had the screws where you put the wire in the back and then screwed it in. I just picked the switch up like I normally do, and I was like, no! Yep, so luckily I wasn't touching anything else, so it just hit me. So thanks for sharing that, Lynn. That's that you've able to try that out. I know I'd messed with it. I just hadn't messed with a combination of them. So, that's pretty cool. Like you could go just set a good. What would you use it for, Lynn? I'm thinking like, hey, after 10 o'clock, I'll just go ahead and push a command to it to set the dimming value to, like, say 20% or 30%. And then if someone goes through and turns it on or off, then it'll just be at that dimming value. But then say after 8 a.m., we'll flip it back to 80% or 100% or something like that. Is that kind of what you were thinking to do with it? And I did work with, side note, with the wake up command makes it come on low, move up to its last setting. Oh, okay, that's cool. So I did work with Desert Garden Prepper. He had something weird where he was. You're gonna make me say that name of that bulb again. That Fiat bulb. It was something weird. He was telling me as soon as he added MQTT, it would start. The bulb would go wacky, and it had Tasmota on it, and it would go wacky where it would like start flickering and stuff. And I was like, man, I never heard of that. Why would it do that with MQTT? Well, he was actually kind of listening to me where I'd said to Flash that bin file that I pre-compiled that had Wi-Fi manager as default. Well, that version, that when I first did that was the time at 6.4.19 of Tasmota. Well, there was a bug in the Home Assistant auto discovery component of Tasmota. So as soon as you turned on set option 19, which is auto discovery, and which we'll look at that right quick for the ones that are curious. If you go to Home Assistant, and this is the wiki of Tasmota again, and of course you set up your broker, configure your broker, and if you turn on set option 19 on the console, and that enables MQTT discovery. And then of course you have MQTT discovery turned as true in Home Assistant. It'll just pop up and configure. Well, there was a bug in, I want to say it was a combination of Core 2.30 and that version, and you had to turn on MQTT discovery. Well, I don't use MQTT discovery because I'm just testing stuff and moving stuff around too many times. And well, it would reboot every 7 seconds. It's because it would go to post its commands for auto discovery, and then it would do a watchdog reset. And then it would just keep doing it over, and you get stuck in a loop. So the easiest way, you got to hurry and turn it off, or you could stop your MQTT broker, and it would force it to fail on the connection, and you could turn off that set option 19. But I did, when 6.5 came out, I did recompile another one. So if you were using one, I can't even spell my own thing, right? If you were using a bin file, and I'll link this here, for your Tuya convert, and I'll explain just again why I would use this one. This is just going to link to the folder. So I don't want to put the link there, because I think if you click it, the link, it actually would download the bin to your computer or device. So what that is it's just a Core 2.30. I would download the 6.5 one. And what that is, it's kind of a minimal, no sensors, just for like switches, your typical stuff on what a lot of people would use on Tasmota. But the big key is Wi-Fi manager is set as default. So I know everybody had heard so many times about, they put in the SSID, you've got one shot to put that password incorrect in Tasmota when you're flashing it over. And there's no confirmation, and it's also starred or dot, you can't see it. And if you messed it up, or you have code characters that Tasmota or even ESP8266 doesn't support, then you would end up with a somewhat bricked device, because it would just sit there and try to hit that SSID with that password over and over and over. So definitely use that bin file in your Tuya convert if you're going to Tasmota. Now, of course, there have been people having success, and if you know what you're doing, you can go straight with ESP Home during the Tuya convert process. So, but, and of course, if you're using some other sensors that maybe I didn't compile in there, you can also just use the GUI in Tasmota. It still points to the hackbox.org, which they have all those bin files, and you can just hit a OTA upgrade over the air. So, yes, do not type the SSID. Select it from the list. And if you did put a wrong password and you're not using the bin, you can make it a same network with no password and allows you to search. It's very easy to miss. Yeah, we can do that. Good idea. Hell, let's test it on the dimmer. I'm game for it. Let's see. It should go into AP manager mode when I hold this down for 5 seconds. And it should trigger to Tasmota to reset. I wonder if it's implemented. It might be. Let's see, did it reset? Maybe it's not going to allow that. Oh, it did a reset. It might be something else I have to look at. The other one holds the 5 seconds. We can do that on. Let me plug that Sonoff S20 back in. That LED, Jason, is actually on this secondary controller. So they're probably using some sort of PWM that calls it to do that breathing. But if you use that bin file that I did just link in your Tuya convert process to send that over, you can mess up the SSID, you can mess up the password 100 times. It'll tries it and then flips to access point mode. And then you can just try it again, keep trying it again. The only downside, and I want to warn the downside to it, if your Wi-Fi is down, like say you're doing a firmware upgrade on your router or access points, depending on what you have, your devices will disconnect from the Wi-Fi, of course, and because there's a problem with it, they'll all flip into access point mode. Potentially, if someone is, and that, the range on these are not that great for sending. Potentially, somebody, if you live in an apartment or something like that, potentially someone could attach to that, and if there's no web interface password on Tasmota, they could go in and reset your device, change things up, etc. So that could be. So a way to prevent that is just go add a password on your web menu. I'll show you in a second here. Let's see. I'm going to see if we can do this without killing the stream. 10.10.186. And you'll notice I do that on mine. See there, I already did the password on that one. But if you want to put a web password in, if you go to configuration and go to configure, I don't need this right now, and configure, I want to say it's other? Yeah. You can set a web admin password in here. And if, side note, if you do forget the web admin password and you still have, you can still publish any commands. You can actually publish MQTT command to change your web admin password. But the web admin password will prevent your neighbor from stealing your light switches if they see the access point mode. But it's kind of rare they may do that. It's whatever. So, but I still set it. So let's see if we can do this. In the Wi-Fi menu, will be kind of what it looks like in your, what do they call it, access point manager mode when it comes up. It's not an underlying link. It's just going to be this blue link, and you won't have to type it in here, and you just click the scan for Wi-Fi networks, and it'll go through and it'll show all the Wi-Fi networks. So, and you can just go through and say, hey, I want this one, and when you click it, it's going to fill it out in the first SSID spot. So, if you want to, you can set up another one in access point 2 for backup purposes. It may take it a little longer to set up. So your Wi-Fi is showing. What Wi-Fi is that? I'm picking you up all the way from here, huh, Jim? You got some serious access points. Brewer, there you go. Brewer 24. That's cool. Yep. Didn't notice that. So definitely once you do that, just hit scan for Wi-Fi. And sometimes it takes a couple seconds. Give it a little bit and then just click it and then put in your password you want. But of course, if you flash that bin again, if you screw it up, it's just going to come back up into access point mode again. No problem. So yeah. Thank Will for that. It's right there, and it looks very similar. You'll just see scan for Wi-Fi networks, and I see I've already clicked on it, so it turned purple. So, but you ignored it for so long. You know, I've kind of always wondered why. I was like, why are people typing in the SSID, Will? And I didn't know that. So for the side note, you got me to go into, we'll go back to the Tasmota wiki. I have 2 ubiquity access points. If you have multiple, and I run the same SSID between, I have multiple SSIDs on them. Like I've got one right now in case I wanted to throw it away. And I cycle ones in and out for different live streams and stuff. But if you have multiples, I'll show you a command a lot of people don't know about. And don't ask me why it's 44 minutes. I have no idea. Is if you do have you got multiple access points where there's multiple, say like you've got one access point in the front of the house that, of course it's on channel 1, and then say you've got another one in the back of the house that's on channel 6, and you've got devices that one of them's in the middle of the house or it's on the other side of the house, and it may pick up another one. And I've had that issue where I upgrade the firmware on one access point, and then that device falls over to the other one, and then it may only have like a 20% signal, and it just stays there. And even though the other access point is sitting there 100% signal for it, it's going to still hold on to that 20% signal. Well, I set option 56 and I set option 57 on all of my stuff, and you can just go through. It'll go through it every 44 minutes. I don't know maybe someone else can explain the 44 minutes. It'll go and it'll rescan all the access points by the BSS IDs, and it'll look for the strongest one. It actually will jump access points. So it's kind of cool. I'll upgrade one access point, and I'll see the signals all screwed up. Well, then like an hour later, I look and everything fixes itself. So I don't have to sit there and go, wait, reconnect that one, make it stronger signal. Well, it kind of fixes itself. And kind of the same thing. There is the same thing in ESP Home, except I don't think it rescans that often. We gotta show some ESP Home love, right? I like them both. They're great. I think it's awesome. They're both projects. I'd like to really take stuff from one of the, but they kind of have different, they're built totally different though. So uh, if you look at Fast Connect, if you have Fast Connect set as true, which the default is off, Fast Connect's going to do a full scan first, and it will look for a stronger Wi-Fi of the same name, I believe. So, um, can we make a DigiBlur group donation for? They always have the, if y'all want to, they always the super chat thing at the bottom. So, oh yeah, the Tasmota. I definitely recommend to both uh, Odo Winter and Tasmota. Whatever you feel. I mean, these guys do a crazy amount of time. Odo Winter's got stuff in here for Patreon. He's got PayPal. So, and same thing for, let's see where it's at. I want to say straight on the beginning of, they have a PayPal link. It's a little smaller, but they have a PayPal link for Tasmodo. So, I mean, definitely, whatever project or whoever or doc or any of us that you really enjoy and you want, I mean, any little bit helps these guys. I mean, they're not out here to make money basically, and they're just sharing these things. And the amount of programming and time that goes into ESP Home and the Tasmodo is just, it's got to be crazy. So. Yeah, I appreciate that. So, um, yeah, so I definitely, and I know I was talking with actually, I believe I was talking with Desert Garden earlier, was about the Nabu Casa. I know we've talked a little bit about, I don't think Doc was talking about that. Um, the Nabu Casa. And that supports Home Assistant, which is everything everybody uses. So, but it does give you using which they rolled out the new GUI, which I've been using. It's great. It is awesome. It works great using that, and you don't have to port forward or set up Let's Encrypt or Duck DNS. You don't have to push any ports towards your stuff. It's all outbound communication. And you more put the onus on Paulus and them handling Nabu Casa, which I know they really have a mindset for figuring out all the security issues. And I don't have to keep up with different pull requests and stuff of Let's Encrypt and everything. And I don't have to keep up with all these security updates, and it just works. And of course, the $5 a month that goes towards, I know there's Pascal and there's a couple others, I believe now. So, and it's, and no, you're not getting me to show my page where it has my unique link to remote control. But yeah, it's the Nabu Casa stuff's cool. I really did not like when I had to port forward something into Home Assistant. And I know in the past there was an issue with possible hacking of Home Assistant because they just had that password. And I know there was some of it dealt with the Samba configuration was open for a lot of people, like the way they did it. So yeah, Doc, that's a good idea. I would love to, because I don't even want to go click on that page because it shows right there. Yeah, call it the Dr. Z screen. So, but I know there's a long rant, and I know I think Desert Garden brought it up, but it's a good one. Go support your people that you have passion in your projects. So, I can tell you I've donated to both Theo and on Tasmodo and also to Odo. So he helped me out doing with those LOHAS bulbs and setting up that custom component to do the mapping. So I appreciate all of his help that he did with that. So I hated yes, that manual Google Home setup was a pain in the butt. I can tell you that. I just felt like it wasn't going to work, and where I was going to lose steps. And now you just go in and just say, "Yep, click, boom, boom, done." So, yeah. So, um, and I think pretty much everybody, most of the people have. I do have a Patreon that I did out here for people. I've got a few people that have signed up, so I don't get too much, But hey, um, so I do have a Patreon out there if y'all are curious. I think Doc has one, and everybody else pretty much has one out there because some people like to donate, some people like to do some little subscriptions, and but Espirna. I haven't messed with Espirna in a while. I think it's what talking with you, Mark, I believe. Didn't you have some lit up plugs? It'd be great if you could do PayPal. Actually, I do have to PayPal to. I know several of us have PayPal as well. I do have a PayPal link. Yeah, there were the energy plugs. So you talking about PayPal like to Patreon, I guess. Let's see. I don't want to. So I saw that zero tier stuff, and I haven't done this. I haven't messed with the zero tier stuff. Is that PayPal? Send money to Travis. Here, I'll see if I can find if if you want to if you feel like doing something, there you go. There's my PayPal email address. That's all up to you guys, and no obligation to do so. So, and that that's my regular email. So feel free to email me as well if you need something. So zero tiers and working. Oh, okay. Does not work on Proxmox. Haven't jumped on the Proxmox thing yet. I've just been doing the Unraid thing with the Docker containers. So I think I'll run that for a while. It's been working pretty well. But if I had a Nook yet, if I buy a Nook, I think it's gonna I'll be using it for pfSense, and I don't want to mix. I think I still want that. Me and Paul had talked about this, and I wanted to actually have just a Nook just for pfSense. So also put ESPner. Yeah, and I know I could run pfSense on my server right now. Just add a network card, but that just kind of freaks me out. Is like that's like my media server with Home Assistant plus it'd be my router. I want to do pfSense just by itself, which is I know there's a couple others I want to try as well. We talked about pfSense before. I can't remember the exact. There was kind of open something. So I also put ESPN in Alexa. Oh, that's cool. Alexa can tell the temp. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So let's see. I would check this out, and they don't have any IP addresses showing on here, except for my home thing. I thought that was. You can kind of see my traffic. I was messing around in the router in Grafana, so you can use almost anything for pfSense. Yeah, I noticed a couple of people running pfSense, and I've played with it on a computer, and I want to run. I was like, oh, that's what I want. So, but. That's what you run, Jim? Okay. What do you run pfSense on? on old Dell 990. Yeah, see, that's what I run my media server on a old. Oh, okay. So you're actually running on the hardware. Grafana. I want to say your pro for Grafana is Frank had a lot of videos and live streams. You may have to dig a bit through, but he's got a Grafana add-on and stuff since you are running Hass.io, I believe. Um, and you can, because you'll need Grafana and you'll need InfluxDB. And kind of the premise is InfluxDB is you'll actually have Home Assistant push data into InfluxDB. I have some stuff pushed in there like the power and some temperatures and I don't have a whole lot being pushed into it. There's a lux sensor, some humidity. That's the indoor. Not enough time and enough patience to really make it look pretty and everything with gauges and everything. So, yeah. So basically, the premise is if you look at, you'll have InfluxDB and Home Assistant. You'll pick the different entities to post to InfluxDB, and then you'll have Grafana will pick up from InfluxDB all your different sources, and you'll just make. And it was kind of a learning curve to make some of the gauges, but if you do go look out, they have a lot of examples actually on Grafana's website on how to go and pick up how to make different gauges and graphs and everything. So yeah, exactly, Dale. That's exactly what I did. I went through and found how I downloaded someone else's dashboard for different graphs and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's how they make that. And that's kind of how I like to do things. I like all the different examples on the ESP Home and Tasmota. I like to take other configurations and copy them, just adapt to what I do. So, what are we talking about? That's what happens when you smoke weed. Yeah, he's got that. He's got some cool. I think we all aspire to get to that somewhat of that level with Frank does his live streams with his little animations and stuff like that. It's kind of cool, kind of spices things up. So, but all right, well damn, I still wasn't gonna say I was gonna do a 2 hour again, right? But we definitely got off on other things. So, interested to see how your family uses Thinking Up Docs is cool for us tinkerers. How do your family members like it? So how the family members use it. I don't use the the GUI much. Like I mentioned last night, I may not go using the GUI, the Home Assistant GUI for probably once a week maybe. And but a lot of stuff we use is automations and the way they interact with it is voice. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate that. Yeah, go do some rewinds to upload. Yeah, that'd be cool. And I kept saying I was going to do that with the how to compile and install Platform IO. So I need to do another one on that one. But now the train has changed a little bit for Tasmota and ESP Home, which is cool though. But look at now, I got me off. Oh, the interactions again. So the family members, they like to interact with it a lot just using we've got Google Home speakers in every room pretty much. And they'll interact, turn stuff all on and off with their devices. Now they do like some of the cool stuff I've done, like long presses, and like turn in the bathroom. Like my daughter, she can long press her light and it'll actually turn the bathroom light off if she forgot on the way. She don't have to walk back. The They have motion lights in the bathroom, have motion lights in the hallway. They've got motion lights in the living room, motion lights in the kitchen, and those are based off of various rules in Node-RED, based off of what time it is and also what the state of our alarm system is. And so it's kind of like when we set the alarm system, lock the doors, boom, that's when a lot of the motion stuff turns on, and it's all at low brightness. Like I've got one bulb in the living room, another bulb across the other side, and those turn on at like 10% brightness. And same thing like in the kitchen. I've actually got that motion night light that I did in the kitchen, and it picks up what pretty well in the kitchen. And so when you walk in the kitchen, boom, it sends the MQTT command straight to the dimmer over the sink and turns it on. So, yep. Yeah, that's pretty much the same way, Mark. I don't even have the interface installed on her phone. So, yeah, and of course, I'm talking about Google here. You could be doing the same thing with Alexa or whatnot, because they're both, voice assistants, and through Nabokasa, it makes it super simple to set up all your automations. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. You hanging out. And 95, where are you? What are we seeing 95? I don't know why that temperature said 95. Oh, that is actually a chip. That's the energy monitoring chip running at 95 degrees. That's energy monitoring running out in the shop area, and it's running at 95 degrees. So it's that Atmel chip, I believe. So it's not the actual chip outside, but I'm in Louisiana. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you hanging out, and I know we did the stream trifecta, so I appreciate it. And y'all take it. Y'all, got tongue tied there. Y'all take it easy and take care. Adios, right?